Hi friend, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Shay, and on this channel, I share all things paper. Today, we will be talking about my bullet journals, and I will be showing you some of my bullet journal spreads that I've created over the years during the month of February. In the end, I will also be creating the pages for February of this year. And so stay tuned for that if you would like to see that process. A recurring theme that you will notice from journal to journal is that my setups frequently reference Incorimo. If you're not aware, Incorimo stands for International Correspondence Writing Month. This is an online challenge where participants challenge themselves to write one letter for each day of the month in February. If you would like to know more about Incorimo, I would encourage you to check out the link that I've added to my description box. I also have in a couple of Incorimo videos that I will also include in my description box if you'd like to go check them out and get some ideas if you're interested in participating in that. But to my point, you'll notice that a lot of my setups have envelopes or mailboxes, but you will also see plenty of candy hearts with the little captions. And from here, you can see that there's the occasional floral outburst, but for the most part, during the month of February, you can count on seeing candy hearts and envelopes from me. So I'll let you watch the rest of this flip through with some music, and I will come back when it's time to do this year's setup. For this February's setup, I have a lot going on here. I decided to just do, yes, you guessed it, an Incorimo reference to letter writing. And this is heavily inspired, if not somewhat copied, by my friend Nicole, who is also Plans That Blossom. She's here on YouTube and on Instagram. Check her out, follow. She's just awesome and talented, also really nice. And full disclosure, as you can see here, I tore out a page because this was my first effort and it just went really sideways and wonky. There's like 5 layers of 5 different colored markers here, starting with this one and then a darker one. And I tried to accept whatever mistakes happen and not tear pages, but sometimes, you know, Marie Kondo is right. If it's not bringing you joy, it's gotta go. So I tore this one out, and the way that I tore it out is that I just use a ruler and then kind of tear it that way, so I leave myself this little bit so that this torn page doesn't affect the other side of the page. You know what I mean? So you don't end up with another loose page on the other side. And then I take some nice clear tape, especially for this one because there's an illustration that's there. You could also use washi if you want to go like the decorative route, if you don't have something that would be interrupted by the washi, as it is my case right now. But I just take a little bit of tape and I just stick that little flap down as neatly as possible, and that's it. Crisis averted. One mistake. What's one page? It never happened. But now this side, when I try to letter it, rookie mistake. You should always check your brush pens before you letter to make sure that they're in good condition, that they're, juicy enough to your liking, and that the brush part is not frayed. And I did none of those things. And this was a very frayed brush, so I couldn't get clean upstrokes. And the downstrokes are a little messy too. Plus it's like all crowded. It's just a hot mess, okay? So, but I didn't want to tear out yet another page and have side-by-side torn pages. But I did have this reserve in the back. And I've shown this before. I have a video
that shows a couple of ways to cover up mistakes in your bullet journal. And so one of my favorite ways is to use the pages that are in the back. The old Leuchtturms, or like the original ones, have about, I think, 10 perforated pages in the back. And I've always just saved those pages to cover up mistakes. Sometimes covering up a mistake for me can mean just cutting like a tiny piece of the page and sticking that down to cover like a word or a header or something like that. It doesn't have to be the whole page every time. But when the mistake is, you know, ginormous, then I take that perforated page out and then I just stick it over the mistake and you get a clean canvas all over again. This is the font that I'm going with. It's a no pressure font. And I'll show you how I did it because I like this font and I'm excited to share it with you because I hope that it gives you some sense of freedom. All right, so I've added my double-sided tape and that's what's gonna go here. The only thing that you have to do is that if it matters to you, so as you see, this now says page 200, but this is 161, so it was 160, you can just, you know, write 160, but that has never been a major distraction for me. And then I just try to make sure that I've lined it up properly and, you know, make sure that you have it all set before you decide to stick. A cool thing to do would be to just maybe stick one side before you unleash the rest of the tape. And so that's what I'm gonna try to do, because when all four corners are sticky, it kind of, you know, leaves more room for error. I might still, you know, mess up and butcher this. It's all very possible, but this is my best effort. So now we've got this side, and then I'm just gonna remove the other papers. Okay. All right, so that's in, and we're back to a clean, relatively clean, I don't know what I did there, but we're back to a clean canvas. And now there goes my monthly cover page. Crisis averted. All right, so now I'm going to color these in. Okay, so we've got our monthly cover pages, my monthly layout, my parking lot, and if you're not familiar, my parking lot is basically just what I call my brain dump. So it's the same function, I just like to call it parking lot. And in essence, it's just for things that I want to get out of my head, but they're not time sensitive, so I just put them in a parking lot. Here I have my habit and health tracker. Here is my gratitude. And here is my first weekly. Okay, so the way that I did this font is that I basically just draw a skeleton for myself where I just write the letters however my actual handwriting is, right? Of course, I try to make it as neat as I possibly can, but I'm not altering my handwriting. I am trying to leave just a little bit of space in between the letters
so not crowding them too much. So take those skeletons and go around it. So on all sides, just go around those skeletons. And I'm not like going super slow. I'm not trying to make any uniform shapes. I'm trying to not overthink it. I'm trying to just follow the lines, and that's the extent of it. So you see here, the B and the R were a little bit close to each other. That's what I was saying about trying to leave some space between the letters so that you have room. I almost would have come too close to the B to have room to do my outline. Versus this one was kind of like a little bit further, but again, I was not going for perfection. I think part of the fun of this font is not only like relieving ourselves from the pressure of creating something that looks a certain way, like very particular, but also I think it looks kind of just quirky and fun and relaxed, and that's always a good vibe if you ask me. So yeah, what I love the most about this is that like any handwriting can create this. So then I like to go in with some ink, and I would recommend that if you're going to color these in using markers or anything, maybe even waxy, anything that's going to potentially move the color if your ink is not waterproof, then I would try to get some waterproof ink. Something that's easy to access that is waterproof is just an average ballpoint pen. So then I go in and I erase the skeleton, and that leaves us with our letters, which I think look really cute. Kind of, there's a little bit of a messy look to them, but I prefer to think of them as just a relaxed font. It's not taking itself too seriously. It's just trying to be a header. It's trying to be functional and maybe a little bit cute. So it's okay to leave it like that if that's your preference. If you want to do black and white, you can even like maybe do some patterns in the inside, like do different patterns per letter if you wanted to do that, like stripes on one, polka dots on the other, or what have you. What I chose to do is to color it in. And even with my coloring, I wasn't being super fussy about it. I was just trying to color the majority of the letters, but the white spots that happened, I was just leaving them for the most part. And it also, I think, adds to the interest and maybe even becomes like a fake highlight to the letter. So that's it for all things February. I hope that you found some helpful tips and some inspiration for your own February spreads. Do leave me a comment down below. Any questions or comments or feedback in general. I love engaging with you guys and talking about all things paper. And I will see you next time, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video. And if you know anyone else that is all about all things paper, be sure to share. I'll see you next time. Bye. Am I running out of ink? Do we need to say goodbye to this pen? Oh my God, I believe I've reached the bottom of this pen. I do get a very special satisfaction. It doesn't even seem like I've used it all. Let's see. Oh my God, I finished it.